Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler, author of A Saga on Home Video, the 3-volume second edition of which is available now in hardback, paperback, and on Kindle as a print replica edition if your Kindle device or app handles that. And, it's interesting in that people kept asking me when it came to A Saga on Home Video, at what point do you feel like it's safe to release a guide for Star Wars Home Video stuff? Because they just keep producing stuff. And that was kind of an ironic question because that was released in the latter part of 2021. And yet, here we are in the middle of 2022, and we look back at the last year and a half or so, and there really haven't been Star Wars home video releases for the most part. I even made a video, right, a special sort of year in review looking back at 2021 in Star Wars home video releases, and it was basically nothing. Right, there's nothing to talk about. The closest thing we had was the fact that in the UK, they finally got Clone Wars Season 6 on Blu-ray and DVD years after every other region got it when they got it in 2021. But as far as Star Wars film releases, it's been a drought. And of course, don't even get me started on the Disney Plus stuff. But hope finally arrived in January of 2022, when we started, as seems to be par for the course these days, seeing pre-order listings for new Star Wars releases in certain regions with zero actual official announcement whatsoever, even really up until now, it seems. The question was, where were they going to be? What was going to be available? Is this a worldwide thing, just a regional thing? Tell us more, right? And the Digital Bits reached out to Disney to get more information, and the answer they got was somewhat disappointing for those of us in the United States. What we are going to look at here is the first in a series of episodes, which will probably not be consecutive because all this stuff is coming to me in the mail at different times for different parts of the world. But the first in several episodes of this series that we're going to look at some brand new April/May 2022 Star Wars film releases. They finally happened. It's about freaking time. Then again, we've talked before about how there is, of course, this question of how long physical media for Star Wars will last at all. Whole different conversation, but suffice to say, apparently 2020 was not it. At least not in some parts of the world. The last time we saw a big push of Star Wars home video releases for the films, of course, was in 2020. We had the release of The Rise of Skywalker in its initial blast. We had the Skywalker Saga box set, which in different regions took different forms. In the US, it was a Best Buy set that was only 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, Blu-ray film disc, Blu-ray bonus disc, digital copy, but there were no other versions of a Skywalker Saga set available in the United States. In the UK, though, you had, for example, a similar set to the US without the digital codes, but then you also had a Blu-ray only set from the UK and a DVD only set from the UK. On the other hand, at the same time, the United States was getting 4K releases of any of the films that hadn't had them before, episodes 1 through 7 and Rogue One. But the UK didn't immediately get those outside of the boxed set. They had to wait a little while, and that was sort of released in an intermingling with a series of really cool steelbooks for all 11 live-action films. Other parts of the world saw other releases in similar vein, but then it kind of stopped. Right? And 2021 was basically a drought. But the one thing that people seemed like they thought was a no-brainer that never happened in 2020 was trilogy sets. Why, oh why, would you release all the films and only have them available in a 9-film set, right? At least as far as the Skywalker Saga stuff goes. Well, there's a mindset, of course, that Lucas had originally had that, well, not originally, that Lucas at one point had, that it was a complete saga of 6, and maybe it was the idea that, well, now it's the complete saga of 9. That's the way to view it. But you would think that a license to print money would be available to anyone willing to print trilogy sets rather than one giant box set. In fact, you heard people making a lot of complaints about how, at the time, only a 9-film set was available. Well, finally we have trilogy sets, but not in the United States. We're going to look at some of these here from different regions. So the story of these sets begins with listings showing up in France. And these new listings showing up in France were for what you might think of as sort of the highest-end box set available in most regions, if you don't count the United States, where we also would include a digital code. And that is a set for each trilogy. That would be an Ultra HD film disc, a 4K film disc, a Blu-ray film disc, a Blu-ray bonus features disc, And in the US, there would have been a digital copy, but not in most regions. So those 3 discs for each film, 9-disc trilogy sets. That was initially what we saw coming out of France, and then it turned out that France was also going to get a Blu-ray only set, so 6 discs per trilogy, Blu-ray film disc, Blu-ray bonus disc, and then a DVD set of each trilogy, I believe, for France as well, which would be 3 discs per. The UK sort of mirrored that approach, and we saw some things coming out of places like Germany as well. The UK mirrored that approach for the 2 of the, what you might call, lesser versions. The UK is getting a Blu-ray only and a DVD only trilogy set for each trilogy, coming up actually just a couple days after I'm recording this. In fact, I think the next day after I'm recording this. But not, for some reason, a 4K/Blu-ray set. Not the highest end of the products. We're going to talk a little bit about Australia in a future episode. They've got some very unusual variants on these sets, kind of oddball ones. But the reason why we're going to look here in this episode at just the highest end French version is that because that, of course, means French packaging language and whatnot, that's the only one that I've picked up from France. My collection is primarily English language stuff, though not entirely. And so what I did, of course, was I bought the Blu-ray only and DVD only sets from the UK. That'll be on their way to me soon from Amazon UK. I did not purchase those versions from France, but I did want to show that higher end version, which meant getting at least that one from France. And at a pretty penny, the dollar-euro conversion kind of sucks right now, as does shipping prices in many cases. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pick up the other ones from France. There's a part of me that wants to complete that run of 9 packages, but I don't know since I'm going to have the UK ones with English language packaging. So with all that background in mind, let's take a look at these really, really nice trilogy sets coming out of France. Now, my suggestion, if you're trying to buy them in the US, order, like I did, through Amazon France. They came in great packaging, nice and safe, great condition, and these are really nice packages that I think anyone who collects Star Wars home video is going to want to eventually get for their collections, just to be able to have them on the shelves for display. Although, again, if you don't care about the 4K disc, you could get them, say, from the UK to get the Blu-ray or DVD only and have a similar look. Let's start with the prequels. The prequel trilogy gets its own box set for the first time in a while, of course. They had their own Blu-ray set. Before that, they had their own DVD set, though DVD only once. We have here, notice, this is actually built into the box. This is not a J card. Okay, so the box art itself, at least for France, has 4K Ultra HD, 4K Ultra HD plus Blu-ray plus bonus. We have that art there. Kind of dig in the art here. The red style, presumably based, with Maul's red coloration to kind of fit it all together. And the Mustafar lava, kind of pulling it all together. You got the duel, you got Yoda and Mace and pod racers, Qui-Gon, Padme, Jango, clone troopers, Jar Jar, very, very tiny. Good call. More pod racers, Anakin on the speeder bike. Let's see, some tanks, Republic tanks, duel on Naboo, drop ships, Maul, Death Star plans, I guess that's Geonosis back there, I would assume. Color makes it hard to tell, and so on there. So, have a cool look here. Nice blending of the 3 films. And at the bottom, you have the Roman numeral and then the title of each film in French. I have no idea how to pronounce them correctly, so I don't think I'm even going to try. You know the film names in English. So there's the front. The top has a Roman numeral and each film's name. The bottom has your various specs and whatnot. We will look at the language options here momentarily because it is kind of a weird eclectic mix across the different packages, but we'll check those out in a moment. Then you've got the spine of the slipcover here, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Roman numeral, name of the film, Ultra HD Blu-ray. The other side, this is the spine of the part that will come out, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Roman numerals with film names, and Ultra HD Blu-ray at the bottom, keeping with that sort of red theme here. And then here is the back. You've got that shot up there, kind of the cool thing with Anakin, with the clones and whatnot. Tagline, film names, cast crew information, Ultra HD Blu-ray information, disc information about the Blu-ray itself, how to watch 4K, various symbols like Dolby Atmos, copyright, UPC, all that good stuff down there. Now, I have taken the time to learn a little bit of French so that I could translate and figure out what this tagline actually says so that I can tell you them here on the show. You are welcome for me doing that. Yeah, I didn't. That was all Google Translate's app on my phone, where you can point a camera at text and it turns it into text. But would have been nice of me to learn a little bit of French, but I'm too old to learn that kind of stuff. Old dog, new tricks and all that. But what it says here is, the legendary Star Wars saga begins in this collection of 3 films. Cool, cool. Now, what's inside it? Again, this is a slipcover, and I must say, it is a nice, thick cover here. It feels really nice when you've got it on here. I was expecting it to be something a little flimsier. It is absolutely not. I like it. As for this, inside you essentially have that same art again here. On the back, gunship artwork there. Nothing on top or bottom because it does fold out. When I fold it out once, you got Anakin on the speeder bike. When you fold it out again, on one side, you're seeing some of the discs, fold it out again to get all the discs. Disc labels are just the French version, of course, of what we would typically see as a disc labels anywhere else. So here's an example here. Notice it says Star Wars, but then it has the title of the film in both French and then English for each film, so it's a little bit further spread apart. Lucasfilm, and then a product number over here, and it says film right there, so Lucasfilm film product number. The 4K Ultra HD logo here. Information here that basically just says that it's not for rental unless it's specifically labeled as such. Ultra HD Blu-ray, and then down there some copyright information. Okay, but similar, but of course changed to the fact that it is a French release. The Blu-rays also have a similar design here. We're not going to look at every single one because, again, they're all essentially just the same design that we've seen before for these, just given a French twist. Not sure if that's a thing, but a French twist. A croissant, even. Then you've got, I know I said that wrong. Somebody's going to say, no, it's pronounced like a KW. Stop. Okay, but logo here with both titles. Blu-ray, Lucasfilm film. That thing about the rental stuff, region ABC, and copyright down here with a product number on this edge that you can see there. So yes, region ABC. So these are playable in American players if you want to import these. Your bonus discs, again, very similar in style. Title there with the 2 titles. Product number here. Not for rental type stuff here. Lucasfilm bonus, Blu-ray symbol, region, and then copyright. The style continues for each of the remaining discs. We're not going to look at them in depth, but there's Attack of the Clones 4K, Attack of the Clones Blu-ray, Attack of the Clones bonus disc, Revenge of the Sith 4K, Revenge of the Sith Blu-ray, and then Revenge of the Sith Blu-ray bonus disc. Inside, you've got artwork here that goes in episode order from left to right here, and you've got your blank ones on the ends. So we've got Qui-Gon, Padme, and Jar Jar, barely seen there with the little tab thing over his head. For Phantom Menace, for Attack of the Clones, you have Yoda, Mace, and Jango, and then for Revenge of the Sith, that iconic shot that we see all the time on home video packaging of Anakin versus Obi-Wan on Mustafar for Revenge of the Sith. For the record, this is what the other side looks like when completely folded out. So finally, an actual box set just for the prequel trilogy here with 4K discs and those updated Blu-ray discs here. It's coming from France, but again, it can be used in the US without any issues whatsoever. We're going to take a look at the language options again on this, but we will do that momentarily after we've looked at the other 2 trilogy sets here. Then we've got the trilogy that's gotten the most box sets in different formats over the years, of course, because of its age, which is the original trilogy. Okay? This is a similar design, so we're not going to go through what every single piece says, but similar in design to the prequels here with the image. You got that kind of bluish-green color scheme thing going on here. Kind of makes sense, I guess. They went with blue for, the 2011 Blu-ray individual set. They went with blue for the DVD set in 2008 and so on. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Kind of looks like, I don't know, a baby was eating blueberries and asparagus and decided they couldn't keep it down, but that's okay. That's okay. Not the biggest fan of this color scheme here. I like the blue. It's just the blue with sort of the yellowishness that makes it greenish looking, just something less attractive about this than it should be. But anyway, so we got our image here. Boy, there's a lot of stuff on here. We got X-Wings, Chewbacca, Yoda, Luke, Leia, Han, C-3PO, R2-D2, Lando, AT-ATs, Snow Speeders, Millennium Falcon, speeder bikes with Scout Troopers. We've got the duel on Clouds. I'm assuming that's the duel from Cloud City. It's hard to tell without the color, but we'll see that same image on the inside. Binary Sunset thing, the Lambda-class shuttle, Jabba, Vader's TIE Advanced V1, no, X1. There you go, X1. Then we have Second Death Star, Vader, TIE Interceptor, TIE Fighter, Emperor Palpatine, Star Destroyer, and so on and so on. I will say it also, it's kind of interesting, with the Star Wars logo here and on here, notice that instead of having two lines coming out from the side, there's the one line that goes into the S and the one line that comes out of this S, but there's not another line on either side. So you have this weird kind of imbalanced lines on either side. An interesting choice there. Similar top. Similar stat-bearing bottom. Similar side here, except of course now with that different color scheme. Similar back, and the tagline here says, "Heroes emerge to free the galaxy in this 3-movie collection." Cool. Cool there. Again, going with a different color scheme, but pretty similar otherwise. The side that will eventually be the piece we take out here looks like so. Okay. We do take it out of here. Similar art again, with the back, in this case, having the Millennium Falcon by the second Death Star. Okay. And then we begin folding it out. And yes, I guess that is the Cloud City scene that I saw on the front, because there's that shot again there. Cool, cool. Fold it out once. Fold it out twice. And you get this. There you go. Interior here, again representing each film. We've got basically Chewie, Leia, and Obi-Wan to represent A New Hope. Han, Yoda, and Lando for Empire. And then Luke and the two droids, C-3PO and R2-D2, representing Return of the Jedi. As to the other side, if you want to see it, gotta be very careful, I don't want to damage this thing. There you go. Disc-wise, again, just French versions of what we see for other regions. So there's A New Hope 4K, A New Hope Blu-ray, A New Hope bonus disc, Empire 4K, Empire Blu-ray, Empire bonus disc, Jedi 4K, Jedi Blu-ray, Jedi Blu-ray bonus features disc. So another nice new trilogy set, this time for the original trilogy, the classic trilogy, whatever you want to call it. Pretty nice here, and we'll see how these sit together on a shelf spine-wise here whenever I get through our last one. Because the last one is kind of the biggest deal here, right? There had never been, up to this point, granted there couldn't have been until 2020, but there has never been a trilogy set released for the sequel trilogy up until now. Now, there were digital trilogy sets you could get for the sequel trilogy, but not physical sets for them. In fact, this box will actually tout that as its tagline on the back. So, kind of a big deal that we are finally seeing a sequel trilogy boxed set of any kind, let alone one that is all this highest end formats, at least for right now, minus, again, digital, because that's just not a thing with the French releases. That is this. Now, I will say, it's kind of this orangish color scheme. I kind of wish the color scheme they'd gone with for this one was maybe a little bit further away from the one for the prequels, because the prequels are red, this one's orange. They look really, really similar. So, I don't know, I kind of wish there was another. On the other hand, you take these and put them together with this one to its side. Let me see if I can do that without dropping anything. And it is kind of cool that it's almost like that yellow in the original trilogy that I think is kind of meh, sort of bleeds over and acts as like a connecting color across these if you're sitting them like that on your shelves. So I guess that kind of works, just a little bit different here. But similar design again, We have the Millennium Falcon, followed by First Order TIE Fighters, more First Order TIE Fighters over here, Kylo's shuttle, Kylo Ren, the crashed Star Destroyer on Jakku, the battle, sort of, that we see in Rise of Skywalker. It's more like the battle art we've seen a ton of times that isn't entirely accurate, because, for instance, he has his helmet on. Then we have Leia and Luke and Rose, X-Wings, Han, Chewie, C-3PO, R2-D2, Star Destroyers, X-Wings, and then Finn, Rey, Poe, and little tiny BB-8 there. Okay, similar top. Again, stats on the bottom. Spine going with this color scheme as well. And then the spine that will be part of our pullout here. The back has that tagline, of course, up there. I like the artwork choice there, and the color scheme works better there, I think, than it does on the front. The back tagline says, "The last 3 films of the Skywalker saga together for the first time in a box set." So they are playing up the fact that this is the first time, and that is kind of a good thing. Let the consumer know that this is the first time they're doing that. It's an inaugural version of that, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it'll drive some sales. We pull it out. Again, similar art with different art on the back. This art, in this case, is a T-70 X-Wings. Folding out once gives us, again, that art we see a lot where, for some reason, Kylo has his freaking helmet on during the duel that's supposed to be the Keth Beer duel, but whatever, we see that art everywhere. We fold it out once. Again, we just get the middle set of discs. We fold it out again. I don't know why I keep putting it back in front of me, so I have to turn it like this to pick it up. And you get all your discs there. As for the discs, again, similar labels. We're just going to zip through them real quick. I would note here, of course, that because these are reissues of the discs from 2020, that does mean these are the reauthored discs, which is particularly notable in the case of Last Jedi, because it means no Dolby Vision, but it also means that we do have Meet the Porgs on there. We do have the audio-only soundtrack version of it, all that, or not audio-only, music-only audio version of it, and so on. So just know that these are the updated discs. So for those of you who in the US haven't gotten the updated discs because you didn't get the Skywalker Saga box set, this is a way to get those as well, since they haven't been issued over here individually, which is still just as asinine as it was when we first noted it. 4K The Force Awakens, HD/Blu-ray The Force Awakens, Blu-ray bonus disc for The Force Awakens, Last Jedi film disc here, 4K, Last Jedi Blu-ray film disc there, Last Jedi bonus disc, Rise of Skywalker 4K, Rise of Skywalker Blu-ray, Rise of Skywalker bonus. Goes by each film again. So here for The Force Awakens, we have a Han, Chewie, Poe, R2-D2, and Phasma. For Last Jedi, we have Luke, Leia with the thing over her face, C-3PO, Rose, and Amilyn Holdo. And then for the Rise of Skywalker, we have Finn, Janna, Rey, and BB-8, with Rey's face covered by one of the little thingies here. Poe at least is a little off to the side, but nope. Leia and Rey just get it right in front of their face. Someone did not think about how the design of the art and the plastic on top of it were going to mesh together. So yes, finally a box set of the sequel trilogy. It is 4K and Blu-ray, and has the bonus disc, which is nice. Of course, what could have made it better is a digital copy. That's just not a thing in France, and unfortunately the US is not getting these at all, at least according to Disney, when the Digital Bits asked them when these were first being shown. And so far there are no pre-orders or anything like these up in the US whatsoever. France's came out in April. The ones for Australia came out in April that we'll eventually look at. The ones for the UK hit in early May. You would think if they were coming in the US around the same time we'd see pre-order stuff. There have not been any. You might want to hold out some hope that maybe they show up around like Christmas time, maybe as yet another round of unannounced exclusives at Walmart or something, like the ones, a few years back that had the Forces of Destiny DVD with it, but I'm not holding my breath on that at all. More than likely, if you want these and you're a collector in the US, you're going to need to look at importing them. As to how these look together on a shelf, it is quite nice, I will say. There you go. Right. So, kind of cool thing, doesn't take up as much space as a Skywalker Saga set does. Easier to put on a shelf and display with spines outward than, say, the Skywalker Saga is, at least the one that the US got. So, it is nice to finally get these, and I really like this packaging design. Not as big a fan of the fact that this is not a J card, because it's built in, but at least it is nice in the way that it's all built in together. So I think that works well. Now, if you're going to pick these up, bear in mind that, again, different regions are offering different types. The US is offering none, but if you want to get these from France, you're going to have French language stuff on the packaging, and the labels with French and English for the titles on the actual discs themselves. The discs, when you play them, will allow you to play with the regular English audio and English subtitles just like you would see them in the United States. So from a disc playing standpoint, you're in great shape, and none of them are region locked. So this could be a good alternative for those of you in the United States. As to other regions where we may not be talking about English language, it's really going to kind of vary. And it varies not just across films, but also across disc types and trilogy sets and so on. It's a lot of different variation. I want to give you an example of this variation. What I did was I grabbed all 3 discs of Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, right? The last film in each trilogy, and did a comparison of their audio and subtitle options so you know what is available. So, basically, if you're wanting to watch in 4K, then as long as you speak English, French, German, or Italian, you're good, okay? Because all the 4K discs across the board here, at least in the ones that I tested, again, I only tested those 3 as spot checks of each trilogy, but they should be very similar. We have English Dolby Atmos, English 2.0 Descriptive, French 7.1 Dolby Digital Plus, German 7.1 Dolby Digital Plus, and some version of Italian. The original and prequel trilogies have 5.1 DTS Digital Surround Italian, whereas Rise of Skywalker ups that to 7.1 Dolby Digital Plus. Okay, so English, French, German, Italian, you're good for the 4K discs if you want to listen to your language. As far as subtitles go on those discs, those 4K discs that I tested, you're good to go if you need English for the hearing impaired, French, German, or Italian subtitles. On the other hand, there are 4 subtitle types that only exist on the prequel and original trilogy discs that I tested, not on the sequel trilogy disc, the Rise of Skywalker. Those are Danish, Finnish, Swedish, and Norwegian. So, mixed bag for those 4 languages, but again, English, French, German, Italian, just like with the audio, for the 4K discs, you are good to go for these sets. As far as Blu-ray, it is more of a mixed bag. For Blu-ray, if you speak English or French, and you want to hear in English or French, you're in great shape. If you, from a subtitle standpoint, want English, French, or the language from the Netherlands, you're good to go. Otherwise, it does vary. So the audio for all of them, when I tested them, include English 7.1 DTS HD Master, English 2.0 Descriptive, French 7.1 Dolby Digital Plus. But then the original trilogy and prequel trilogy add something that Rise of Skywalker didn't have, which is Spanish 5.1 DTS Digital Surround. And then only the prequel disc that was tested, Revenge of the Sith, included Catalan 5.1 Dolby Digital. So some variation there, but English and French across the board. And then as far as subtitles go, the ones that are across the board for the Blu-ray film disc of the ones that I tested, we have English for the hearing impaired, French, and language of the Netherlands. And then the original and prequel trilogies add Spanish to that, but nothing else. Rise of Skywalker doesn't add Spanish, but then adds the 4 languages that its 4K disc was missing: Danish, Finnish, Norwegian, and Swedish. So kind of a mixed bag there. And then as far as the bonus features discs, the language options don't exist. It's just the regular language of it, but then you have different subtitle languages that you can choose. The ones that are safe because they're there across the board, we have English for the hearing impaired, French, German, Italian, and the language from the Netherlands, and some version of Spanish. Prequel and original trilogies, alongside English for the hearing impaired, French, German, Italian, Netherlands that I already mentioned, they get Canadian, French, Japanese, and 2 versions of Spanish. Castellan, if I'm saying that correctly, and Latin American. Okay. Rise of Skywalker, on the other hand, has the English for the hearing impaired, has French, has German, Italian, language from the Netherlands, does not have Japanese, does not have Canadian French, combines the Spanish into simply Espanol, one Spanish option, but then adds subtitles for Czech, Greek, Polish, and Portuguese. So, very different options, primarily as you're looking at sequel trilogy versus the others, which tends to be kind of the pattern we're seeing here, that the sequel trilogy diverges the most from the others, which makes sense given when these are all being authored originally, or at least original versions of these are being authored with some content carrying over to newly authored discs. But the point being that whether or not you're going to get much use out of these in your particular region is going to completely depend on what languages you speak or need subtitles for, in terms of audio and subtitle options. And the only ones that are particularly safe, regardless of which film disc you're watching, Blu-ray or DVD, are basically just English and French. Otherwise, it's kind of a crapshoot, and you may find that your language is only available audio-wise on one film disc and not the other. And, you know, whether your subtitles work or not, it's a really mixed bag here. If you're just a collector and want to just put them on a shelf, it'll work no matter where you are. And if, again, you are speaker of the English language, I think I left out an A there, but if you're a speaker of the English language and you want English subtitles and English audio, the original film's soundtracks, you're good to go. You can import these. Just, again, be aware that right now, at least for the United States, the euro is a bit stronger, it seems like, than the dollar, so you're looking at some higher prices than you would expect to buy these for probably over in the United States. At least that's what it seemed like to me when doing these orders. So what are we looking at coming up with our coverage of this stuff? We've just looked at the French highest-end versions. We're going to eventually look at the other two versions that sort of parallel what we see in France that are coming from the UK. Those haven't shipped yet. They actually don't launch until I believe it's May 2nd, which is the day after I'm recording this. So those will be coming soon, but they haven't arrived yet. Then we have some Australian ones we're going to look at, which are coming to me from JB Hi-Fi over in Australia, some of which have shipped, some of which have not, because I sort of decided, you know what, I am going to get the rest of them and put in a second order for the other ones. But basically, in Australia, what they're doing is kind of odd in that they're doing, 3 trilogy sets, 3 different formats, so 9 total, like you would see in France, except they are just the film discs, just in one format. So we are seeing, for instance, the original trilogy with 3 DVDs, the original trilogy with 3 Blu-rays, just the film discs, apparently, and the original trilogy just with the 3 4K film discs. We are seeing releases with 4K film discs only for the first time for any Star Wars release, and that is coming from Australia. So we're going to take a look at those when they finally arrive as part of this coverage here. It's nice to finally have some new Star Wars releases to actually cover on the show. I'm excited about it, and boy, do these look nice. With that, we will wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers. Even if you have to import stuff from somewhere else, at least it's something, right?